All right, folks, do we have a jam-packed show for you today? In Louisiana, a teenager is convicted as an adult for murder, but only gets 9 years in prison. Why the light sentence? We're going to talk about that. In D.C., Donald Trump has mobilized troops with the anti-crime order. The federal government is taking over policing in that city. Is it the right decision? We're going to talk about that. A Louisville, Kentucky woman and her 2 children are abducted during a $20,000 bank robbery of sorts. We're going to discuss her harrowing story. A Florida woman posing as a nurse gets arrested after treating thousands of patients. Unbelievable story. An LSU player and one of the top recruits in the country is arrested after harboring 2 friends accused of murder in his dorm room at Louisiana State University. You gotta hear this one. And there's so much more coming your way today on Crime Wire Weekly. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
Hello, Kelly Jennings.
Hello, Jimothy.
How's your week thus far?
You know, I've had personally a good week. My heart's heavy though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So you've obviously been watching the news. We both do. And we had a local officer, Caleb Eisworth, who was purposefully run over by a total piece of shit. He was on his motorcycle, the officer was, and just going about his business, responding to a call. And this guy decided that he wanted to, quote, lay him out.
Yeah.
And so
targeted
him, ran him over.
Drug him 500 feet plus.
Horrible. Yeah. And so it's been 7 weeks. He survived, and we were all we as a community were so thankful for that and so happy. We found out had to have double leg amputations, but he seemed to be doing well. But we found out that yesterday that he did actually succumb to his injuries. And so that is just to be targeted at your job.
Yeah.
You know, a job that we all, I think, should appreciate, that we have people out there who are willing to protect us and to serve. And so I just personally would like to extend my heartfelt thank yous and condolences because Caleb actually went to the same high school as me.
Yeah.
So
and me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we went to the same one, huh? Yeah. And so I don't know. You kind of feel a tug whenever we walk the same grounds, and kind of live similar lives when we were younger. So to his family and anyone that knew him and his friends, you have my ultimate respect. And so I felt like it was important to share that.
Yes, I agree. And many, many prayers to his family and all of those who knew and loved Caleb Eisworth, and a former Broadmoor Buccaneer.
That's right.
So even your fellow Broadmoor graduates, hearts, thoughts, prayers, all of that to the family. Sad Absolutely. Situation. The hate's got to stop. It's got to stop for these officers that are every day put on a uniform and really risk their lives for people they don't even know.
Right. And then to be killed by someone you don't know.
Right.
For no reason. It's just sick. So anyway, y'all keep that family in your prayers. I know he has a young daughter, and our heart's with you, man.
Yep. So let's get into it. And we're going to start out in Louisiana today, and we're going to go to St. Helena Parish, which y'all is right by about 45 minutes from where we record, would you say?
Yeah.
So we're going to go there, and a St. Helena Parish teen is sentenced this past Monday, for a fatal shooting after victims' family members gave emotional speeches in a Greensburg courtroom. Christopher Williams, who was 16, was sentenced to 9 years in prison after pleading guilty to the shooting at St. Helena College and Career Academy. This killed 1 juvenile and injured 2 others in September of 2023. Now, the shooting took place on campus where the 3 victims were sitting in a car after school. Vernon Gordon Jr., who was 16 years old, died in that shooting. Williams was charged with with counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder, and illegal carrying of a firearm. He was 14 years old at the time of the shooting. However, he was tried as an adult. Vernon Gordon Sr. said the sentence that he received did not reflect the value of his son's life. Quote, "My family was served a life sentence of grief." He described his son as an outgoing athlete on the honor roll who wanted to go to college. He would have turned 18 5 5 days ago. The victim's father and several other family members donned T-shirts with his photo that said "Justice for VJ" and "Until we meet again." Markel Bernard Gordon, Vernon Gordon Jr.'s mother, described her family as struggling with grief after the shooting, especially her juvenile special needs daughter. The mother said the death changed their lives forever. Other relatives and the mother of the other 2 injured victims, they also spoke about their grief and shared frustration about the sentencing. Some did forgive Williams. Williams kept his head down as the 7 victim impact statements were read in court, and initial reports from law enforcement said that bullying may have fueled the shooting. Thomas D'Amico, Williams' defense attorney, said after the sentencing there was evidence of serious bullying, both verbally and physically, and that Williams was not a bad kid. Bernard Gordon testified in court there was no proof of bullying. The defense attorney said his client and family were both remorseful. Williams' mother and a handful of women sat on the side of the room near him wearing T-shirts and displayed the Bible verse Mark 11:25 and "Standing in Love with CJ." 14 is the youngest I've ever had, D'Amico said in representing the juvenile, and the district attorney's office understood the gravity of the kids' ages. So what do you think about that?
So, first of all, 14 years old is well old enough to know that bringing a firearm with you is not right in any capacity, shape, or form. And even if you are being bullied versus murdering people is something. And look, I've been bullied before when I was younger, okay? It's no fun. But it never crossed my mind to bring a weapon and to murder those people. And so I think this is more complex than just saying, bully, oh, well, he was bullied, and so that's why he didn't get a lot of time. I don't agree with that amount of sentencing. I don't think that if you're willing at 14 to bring a weapon to school and murder people, then I'm not convinced that 6 years in a facility is going to change.
9 years.
I'm sorry, 9 years in a facility is going to change that.
Yeah, and look, I don't know, admittingly, all the facts of this case. Were they beating the shit out of this kid every day at school for a year? I don't know. Not that nothing justifies murder, obviously, but maybe, was he scared to death? I don't know. The sentence only being 9 years makes me think that there's some things that maybe are not being reported on here. As far as what I just covered you, I don't know the extent. Were these kids 6'4", 240 pounds, and the guy that shot them was 5 foot tall and 115 pounds, and they were just hanging him from a locker every day? I don't know. None of that justifies murder, and I totally get the father saying we feel like the sentence doesn't meet the crime, if you will.
No, my baby's only worth.
If that were my kid and he's no longer here, I'd want this guy in jail for the rest of his life. 14 years old, you'll get some people on the other side of that saying his brain's not even developed yet. There's no way he could have known the gravity of the actions. I don't know if I buy into all that at 14. I remember when I was 14, I knew if I killed somebody, I was going to be in some serious shit.
And it doesn't sound like when he went and did this that he was provoked, from what we're reading. Obviously, we haven't read the case.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like he was provoked. Well, if that's the case, then you have become no better. I mean, you took their lives. It just doesn't equate. I'm not a fan of this at all. And if I was the deceased parents, I would have a lot of problems now emotionally grappling with that light of a sentence. You took my child away.
Yeah.
Forever. Wow. I don't know. Do you think it was,
it's hard for me to really speak on a lot of this because I don't know the extent of circumstances behind it. It's not very clear. It says bullying, but how far did that bullying go? It sounds like it was more than just name calling. It was physical bullying, which means they were probably beating this kid up. There's ways of handling that, obviously, outside of killing somebody.
Speaking of
9 years just seems awful light for murder. That's all I can say for anybody who kills somebody.
All right, well, let's move to Texas now, right next door. And we have 3 people that were killed in a shooting outside of a Target store in Texas per local officials. Austin Police Department responded to a shooting incident at the Target on 8601 Research Boulevard in North Austin, the department announced just after 2 p.m. on Monday, August 11th. Police said they were looking for a suspect in khaki shorts and a floral print T-shirt. Within the hour, they announced an update that the suspect was detained. Now, I'm going to stop here as far as the article that I had started with because we had an update that came through, and so I'm going to pick up on this article because it gives us a lot more insight. So on the update, it says that the Austin Police Department has identified the suspect and the victims in the triple homicide outside of that Target. APD says the victims in the shooting were 24-year-old Hector Leopoldo Martinez Machuca, 65-year-old Adam Chow, and Chow's 4-year-old grandbaby. The suspect has now been identified as 32-year-old Ethan Nineker. Officials had previously said that the suspect had a history of mental health issues, with APD saying that he does have a rap sheet with us. Nineker has been charged with 2 counts of capital murder for the 4-year-old granddaughter and for Chow. He has also been charged with first-degree felony murder for Martinez Machuca. What happened yesterday was an unprovoked and deliberate act of violence. Innocent lives were taken in broad daylight in a place where people should feel safe to run their everyday errands and to live their everyday lives. Police were asked what Nineker's motive was, and this is a direct quote. They said, "He said that he was Jesus, and there was really no reason whatsoever given. It was completely random choosing of victims." Austin police said that on August 11th, they responded, and when they got there, they found Martinez in the parking lot. Martinez was scooped up. He was taken to the hospital where he died from his injuries. Chow, his wife, and their 4-year-old granddaughter were also taken or found in the parking lot. They said Chow and his granddaughter were pronounced dead at the scene. Chow's wife suffered only minor injuries. They said that the investigation found that Nineker randomly attacked Martinez Machuca, who is a Target employee, in the parking lot. So this poor guy is just at work. He shot and killed Machuca, who is collecting shopping carts. Nineker then ran to a black Jeep Cherokee and began firing as the Jeep attempted to evade the gunfire. Police say Nineker then ran up to a gray Toyota 4Runner where he shot Chow as he sat in the driver's seat. He then fired into the back seat, striking Chow's 4-year-old granddaughter. Chow's wife carried their granddaughter from the vehicle, and Nineker pushed her from the vehicle. Nineker then drove the Toyota from the parking lot at a high rate of speed. At approximately 2:20 p.m., Nineker found a water truck parked alongside the block of Mopac Expressway. He opened the driver's door and repeatedly assaulted the driver before pushing him out of the vehicle. Nineker attempted to put the truck into drive but was unable to. He then jumped out of the truck and chased a male with a pistol in his hand before running back to the stolen 4Runner, and he drove off. At approximately 2:25 p.m., APD received a call of multiple vehicle crashes as the stolen 4Runner crashed into a Volkswagen before landing on top of an Infiniti SUV. Nineker exited the vehicle, went over to the Volkswagen, opened the door, and repeatedly assaulted the female driver of the Volkswagen. He pushed the female driver of the Volkswagen out and then drove off. At 2:34, a suspect matching Nineker's description exited the stolen Volkswagen and went up to a Waymo vehicle and attempted to break into it. This failed, and Nineker returned to the stolen Volkswagen and drove away. At 2:37, an acquaintance known to Nineker through Bible study reported that Nineker had thrown a brick through his residence at the 2100 block of La Casa Drive. Then at 2:58, APD received a call of a naked male walking through a backyard. Nineker was observed running into a porta potty and then leaving on foot. Officers located Nineker walking naked on Montclair Street. He was issued commands. He did not comply. He was tased and taken into custody at 3:06 p.m. Officers checked the area, and the matching suspect clothing previously captured on surveillance was located inside of the porta potty. And they gave a little bit more information in a different article that said that he had a history of assault, he had a history of family violence, criminal mischief, DWI, and possession.
Not a good guy.
No.
And I don't know what is in the freaking water, but this is the second time we've covered random shootings at like a major shopping outlet, if you will. This time being Target. Last time it was Walmart. A stabbing in which a guy just went nuts and started stabbing people. This guy's going nuts, just shooting people. I don't know what's going on, but the respect for life is at an all-time low, in my opinion. Nobody considers murdering somebody a big deal anymore. It seems like it's just insane. This guy's just working, pushing carts, and this asshole decides, I'm just going to kill you.
Yeah.
And take your life, bruh. You're working hard at Target. You know, it's not like they pay $1 million a year. You're out there in Texas in the summertime pushing carts. You know how hot that is.
And earning your keep.
This asshole decides it's a good time to end your life.
Yeah, and you know, what's crazy about this too is that if you look at studies of criminality and victimology, you know, you live a high-risk lifestyle, things happen to you, okay? But
you kind of know that going in.
Yeah. I mean, but this is not high-risk lifestyle. I mean, this is Target. This is the upscale Walmart. You know, you're going in to buy some groceries. You have grandparents with their grandbaby. And this poor woman, Miss Chow, just lost her husband and her grandbaby. And to think of the trauma, to grab your grandbaby and run, and then to be pushed down by this guy and lose your family just right there is an unprovoked. Obviously, he's nuts, but this is criminal nuts. This isn't just someone I'm not trying to compare here, but you know, someone goes and robs a bank. Okay, you're a robber. You're a mean dude. This is crazy evil. What in the world? And just changed so many lives forever. That poor kid, he's in his 20s picking up shopping carts.
Yeah. And, you know, you always read when these things come out that the person had mental health issues. Well, that's Captain Obvious right there.
And that's the breakdown.
Obviously, you got freaking mental health issues if you think it's a good idea to get a gun and just start blasting innocent people. But that's not an out. That's not, you know, people, it seems like some people in the media are using this as an out. Well, he had mental health issues. No shit, Sherlock. Still doesn't give him the right to go around and just start blasting people. What is causing it? I don't know.
I'm going to tell you what's causing it. DWI, possession, assault. There's drugs involved here. Mm-hmm. I don't care what anybody says. When people start screaming that they're Jesus, we're usually on some type of upper, all right, some methamphetamine or something. And I know I'm projecting that, but in totality of circumstance, people start acting cuckoo when they're on those uppers.
Yeah.
Okay. So good. You have some mental health problems. Wonderful. Well, now you've ruined all of these lives, and it's a cop out to say, oh, well, he had mental health issues. Well, then we as a people need to look where we're spending our money and where we're sending our funding, because these people like this don't need to be walking the streets. Mental health issues need to be addressed. And there's a long history of this. Yeah. Clearly, there's a rap sheet.
I agree. Let's get into DC.
Okay.
And look, if you're searching for articles to check out for crime right now, this is the leading one. So don't come at me with it's political. Well, it's not political. What we're talking about here is a pretty major historic step that has been taken in Donald Trump's crime crackdown in Washington, D.C. Now, I'm going to bring you back to the beginning of this. The FBI sent 120 agents into the D.C. streets. This is as Trump targets carjacking and crime inside the Capitol. So the FBI sent those 120 agents on overnight shifts to help local law enforcement battle carjackings and other violent crimes. And this comes as Trump has threatened a federal takeover of the city, even as, and I'm intentionally reading you this as the article reads. Even as data shows violent crime plummeted in the nation's capital. The president was recently outraged after a young administration staffer was reportedly assaulted in an attempted carjacking. And that, of course, was who everybody knew as Big Balls. And Big Balls was Elon Musk, kind of like kid genius that was in charge of finding money for the program that Elon Musk was overseeing for Donald Trump. And he was actually defending his girlfriend and got the shit beat out of him by like 8 guys in Washington, D.C. On Saturday, Trump announced that a Monday press conference would end violent crime in Washington. On Sunday, he took to Truth Social, this time to call on the city's homeless to clear out immediately. The president compared his crime-battling action to his work restricting illegal immigration on the southern border, etc. So all this becomes threatened. And then on Monday, Donald Trump did indeed activate the National Guard, and they have indeed taken over policing crime in D.C., which is totally legal. D.C. is not a state, folks. D.C. is a district that is kind of in and of itself and totally funded by the federal government. So because of that, the federal government can enforce law in Washington, D.C., and it's not considered, anything illegal or that you need congressional approval to do. So a lot of articles that I've come across are kind of only telling half the story. So I'm going to give you the full story, at least on this podcast. And one of the things that they're pushing is crime is down in DC, crime is down. I'm going to give you the actual stats. So in 2024, at this point in 2024, there were 112 homicides. This year, 2025, there are 100. So while it is in fact down, it is in fact horrible. There's still been 100 people killed already in 2025, down from 112 in 2024. So that's homicides. Sex abuse, 2024, 110, 2025. Now that has went down about 50%. But you still got 55 cases of sex abuse already in 2025. Assault with a dangerous weapon, 668 assaults in 2024. 2025, 534, about a 20% drop there, but still 534. Robbery. There's been almost 1,000 robberies in 2025 already. There were 1,200 at this point in 2024. Violent crime, just total. 1,588 instances of violent crime in 2025, 443 burglaries, motor vehicle thefts. Don't have a car in D.C. because 2,919 of them bitches have already been stolen this year. Theft from auto, 3,739, arson, 4 cases, property crime, 14,152 cases of property crime. So all crime total, 15,740 different cases already. So I bring all that up to say this. Yes, by percentage, crime has gotten better, but it is by no means acceptable. That's the facts. So while it's improved, it's still horrible. It's unsafe. And this is the nation's capital. It's our handshake, right, to the rest of the world. When they come, especially these dignitaries from other countries, and they go to D.C., you want that to be exactly how you would envision the nation's capital. You don't want it to be a third world country out there where 4,000 vehicles have been stolen already this year. The violent crime, people getting the shit beat out of them in the street. My question is, why does this even become an issue with those out there that are Democratic or Republican or whatever, that they're against the federal government helping the police? The police obviously are overwhelmed here. Obviously there's a problem. So there's nothing wrong. Hey, if your crime is that bad and you're a Democrat, it's probably happening in your neighborhood. Yeah. And because these are the lower, this ain't happening in the rich part of town. Let's put it that way in Washington. This is happening in the lower income bracketed areas of town. And if I live in that area, I'm thinking, bring the National Guard over here. Put them right out in front of my front door so I don't have to worry about a bullet flying through my window tonight.
Well, there's two answers to that question. It's one of two. The only reason you would be against it is, one, simply because of the person who's putting it into effect, which means you just are going to completely blanketly disagree with anything that the person does. Mm-hmm. Or two, it's because people that you know and love are the ones that are committing the crimes. That's the only two logical things I can come up with. But this is something, and I'm not going to turn this into a school lesson because nobody wants that. But when they say crime is down, this is something that I think the general populace misses. Okay, population matters. Population differences have to be looked at. So, for example, D.C. population in 2024, 702,000 people. Mm-hmm. Okay, compare that to Louisiana, 4.59 million people. Okay, so crime being down doesn't mean we just had. Sometimes in the media they'll say crime is down. Oh well, we had 1,000, robberies and we only had 898. Ooh, it's down. No. When you take that whole number and you apply it to the differences in the population, then it could possibly mean that there's more crime per person happening when they have such a smaller population. And that's
it's per capita.
Yeah, it's per capita. And so we have to look at that. And I think a lot of people just buy into the fact that when people say crime is down, well, when the crime is out of control, down still is above where we need to be. Yeah. I mean, it's insanity. You should never be walking out to your car, have a gun put in your face, and your vehicle taken from you. Like, that's just unacceptable. Like, 0 should be the standard.
Right. That should be the standard. And look, we do live in the real world, and there's never going to be 0 crime. We know that.
Right.
But when it's not a flex to say, hey, we had 112 murders last year. We only had 100 this year. That's not a flex.
No.
Because you're still in the top 5 in the country. There's still a major problem there. And look, I have no issue at all with it, whether it's Donald Trump, Mickey Mouse, I don't care who it is, attempting to do what they can to curb crime in D.C. or any other place. Yeah. They ought to go to Baltimore, too. They ought to go to New York City, too. They ought to go to How about the south side of Chicago?
Yeah.
They ought to go there. Let's get a hold of this crime problem that is just going rampant in our cities. Look, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, no flex there. Their crime sucks too, and they need help too.
Yeah. Well, what's happening is it seems like we're turning into a crime culture where it's become so normal that people are like, oh, okay, there's 100 murders. We don't stop and look at the faces of every single victim. We don't stop and realize that these people are this is us. This is happening too, but no one realizes it until it's their family, and then they go, wait a minute.
I think you hit the nail on the head when I think this is more about the person doing it than the action itself, because I don't know of anybody in their right mind that would have an issue with what's being done unless they have an issue with the person doing it.
Right.
I have no issue with crime.
They're doing crime.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't understand it. I really can't understand it.
Right.
All right. So let's move to Kentucky. And this story hurt my heart, and you're going to see why. A Louisville woman was abducted from her home near the Oxmoor Center along with her 2 children before being forced to withdraw $20,000 from a local bank at knife point this past Friday. The suspect, Armand Langford, 32 years old, was arrested later that day and faces multiple charges, including robbery, kidnapping, and assault. Friday morning, Jennifer Strong was making breakfast for her children when she heard her back door open twice. A man, later identified as Langford, entered her home armed with a knife. He had a knife, and he started to yell, "How many people are in this house?" Strong said. I put my hands up. I told him, "Don't hurt us." Langford ordered Strong, her 11-year-old son, and her 7-year-old son into a car. Strong sat in the driver's seat with her older son behind her, and Langford sat in the back with her younger son. With a knife pressed to Strong's throat, Langford demanded she drive to the PNC Bank on Shelbyville Road near Oxmoor Center. My oldest son had his arms around my neck, and he was begging the guy in the back seat not to kill me, Strong said. I asked him if I could reach around and hold my youngest son's hand, and he said yes. And I just have to tell you, I visualize this, that her poor son is behind her and has his arms around her neck to protect her neck from that knife. I just see it like in my soul, and that poor baby was going to protect his mama. That makes me sad. Langford instructed Strong to drive faster, but she refused, saying there were many police in the neighborhood. Strong, a true crime enthusiast, said she tried to gain Langford's trust by sharing personal information. I told the guy my oldest son was autistic, to please not hurt us, that my youngest son was very scared, she said. If this is going to happen, fighting him isn't the right way to do it. He has a knife, and I have nothing. At the bank, Strong knocked out the window. Boom. At the bank, Strong knocked on the window as Langford threatened the teller. I need $20,000 or I will kill her now, Strong recounted Langford's threat. Langford then ordered the children out of the car. Strong feared she might never see them again. I yelled out of the car that I loved them, and I said a prayer, and I took my hand and I grabbed my chest, and I said to myself, this is what it feels like to die. I told the bank, he's killing me now. He's stabbing me again. And then they came out, Strong said. The bank tellers spread $20,000 on the ground. Langford grabbed the cash and fled. Strong was taken to the hospital with stab wounds that came within centimeters of her lung. She was released Friday and reunited with her family. It was the best moment of my life. It will stay the best moment of my life, she said. Langford was arrested just after 4:30 p.m. Friday near the Best Buy, about a mile from the bank. Police said Langford broke into Strong's home, then abducted her and the children before the robbery. The children were not physically harmed, but they were traumatized by the ordeal. The family said this never would have happened if Langford had served his full sentence. In 2024, Langford was sentenced to 14 years in prison for burglary and robbery charges, but was released early on shock probation. I want to know how they're sleeping at night right now, Strong said. Her husband, Brandon Strong, agreed, adding, you caused this. The physical wounds from the attack will heal faster than the emotional scars. Another child was in the home at the time but was asleep upstairs during the attack. My little brother has autism, and it breaks my heart for him that he'll never be able to express what he has seen all the way we can, and that's heartbreaking, she said. Strong's husband, Brandon, was not home during the incident. That's what I'm kind of losing sleep about, not being here, Brandon Strong said. The family has already gotten rid of the car used in the crime because it's too traumatic to be around it. The day after the attack, Strong's son turned 8. The family celebrated, grateful everyone was alive to blow out the candles. Every day is a blessing. Take nothing for granted, Strong said. Langford is being held on a $1 million bond and faces multiple charges, including 5 counts of robbery, 1 count of kidnapping an adult, 2 counts of kidnapping a minor, and 1 count of assault. He deserves the same terror that he inflicted on us, Strong said. Langford is scheduled to be back in court on August the 19th.
Yeah, obviously horrible. And this woman, she was smart. She was trying to do everything she could. She tried to put him at ease. She tried to get on a personal level with this person in order to build trust. Maybe if he feels like he knows me, he won't be able to hurt me, rather than panicking, which she could have done and just went nuts, which everybody would have probably been killed in that situation. Smart lady in a really tough situation. And
I feel like as a mama, if you put yourself in her shoes, can I hold my baby's hand? That was to reassure the child too, because my worst fear would not be being stabbed myself. It would be that he would stab my child. And so She let, her oldest son is holding his arms around her throat. She's holding her baby's hand in the backseat and keeping her babies calm. Just don't hurt my babies. Please don't hurt my, and every mother feels this right now, as does that poor dad who feels lost because he wasn't there. And his role, daddy's roles are to protect their family, but how could he have known? He was gone. He was probably at work.
Oh, yeah. It certainly is not his fault.
And their last name is Strong, and they're for it. It's the right name because they did everything right. When you survive, you did everything right.
That's right. Let's go to Louisiana.
All right.
And a freshman LSU football running back turned himself in to University Police early Friday afternoon after an arrest warrant was issued for him on 2 felony counts of accessory after the fact to second-degree murder.
Hey everyone, Crime Wire Weekly has moved to its own new channel.
We hope you've enjoyed this preview. To continue listening, please follow the link referenced in the description of this podcast.
Or simply search Crime Wire Weekly wherever you're listening.
And don't forget to follow the show so you can be alerted when new episodes drop.
Thanks for listening.